changes. Mr Deputy Speaker, I'm also particularly concerned that the creative and arts communities are being disadvantaged by the Turnbull government to the VET student loans program. Of over 70 creative arts courses previously eligible for funding through the VET student loans program, only 13 are now available according to the government's new published criteria. In announcing the funding cuts, Minister for Education and Training Simon Birmingham stated that, I quote, "VET student loans will only support legitimate students to undertake worthwhile and value-for-money courses at quality training providers." I would like to question the minister as to why the Liberals are effectively imposing a restriction based upon assumed value or worth of the creative arts in higher education for the community. I am genuinely concerned that the government's neoliberal ideology is damaging for our community, and this short-sighted and short-term thinking is indicative of a government out of its depth rather than embracing the cultural positives for the community associated with arts funding in all of its forms. The moment you decide that only wealthy people can afford to be trained in the performing arts because certain areas will not be publicly supported, you've effectively decided that merit doesn't matter or that particular artistic areas are less worthy. The government should not be dictating to the arts community which higher education courses should or should not receive funding on the basis that artistic endeavours are too esoteric to lead to employment. It is creative and artistic endeavours that are crucial for facilitating innovation and new ideas that drive economic growth and industry achievement. Certainly, this Prime Minister lauds the idea of Australia as the innovation nation, but with policy like this before us, I wonder if he knows what it takes to be truly innovative. The test that this Education Minister is using to decide which course are worthy of government support are, I believe, quantitative in measure. This certainly seems to be true of arts and creative courses. I would like to take a moment to highlight the fact that some of our greatest thinkers and some of the greatest innovators of our time are individuals whose contributions to science, technology, engineering and mathematics have underpinned some of the most important discoveries of our time, and these people were first and foremost creatives whose innovations stemmed from their artistic pursuits. Sir Isaac Newton, for example, regarded as the modern father of what we now know as physics, was set on his path to learning not through science but with a Bachelor of Arts. He earned that in 1665. In fact, Newton owned more books on humanistic learning than he did on maths or science. An interesting fact about Albert Einstein, surely one of the greatest thinkers of our age, is that he was an amateur musician who declared, and I quote, "Life without playing music is inconceivable to me. I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. I get joy in life from music." Futurist Nikola Tesla dedicated his scientific work to finding ways in which the Earth's energy sources could be made available to all. He believed that we can water the energies, such as positive mental energy. They are in the music of Bach or Mozart, or in the verses of great poets. And of course Leonardo da Vinci, whose pursuits in science, invention, architecture, sculpture, anatomy, geology and engineering are one of the greatest examples of creative spirit driving innovation. It is exactly this type of innovation that the government may stifle with its cuts to the VET student loan program. Mr Deputy Speaker, I've recently had the pleasure of attending Junction Arts Festival in my electorate of Bass. Situate in and around Launceston and public and private spaces throughout the community, this is an annual 5-day event which is a mix of performance and visual art. The festival revenue is generated through sponsorship and government funding, with a particular focus on free audience experiences. The positive social impacts of participation in the arts in regional communities are many. Accessibility to the arts have been identified as a key driver for social cohesion in communities like my electorate of Bass, facilitating retention of young people in our community. I would particularly like to point to events like Junction providing the spark which engages young people into a career in the arts or other creative and innovative industries. Junction Arts Festival is a perfect example of how investment in the arts and creative industries can facilitate social cohesion, innovation and economic drivers in our local communities. But events like Junction Arts Festival can't flourish unless they are appropriately supported by government. The loss of government funding of some 60 arts diplomas as the result of these changes to eligibility will be a significant detriment to individuals looking to pursue a career in the artistic or creative industries. The Liberals have deemed a variety of courses like screen acting, art therapy, jewellery making, social media marketing, animation, dance and many others as lacking employment opportunity and therefore not suitable for subsidising. This is hugely insulting to educational providers, arts festival and arts program coordinators and indeed the wider arts community in Australia as a whole. Talented students with a passion and drive to pursue creative careers, especially those students from disadvantaged backgrounds, will be left without any access to study in their chosen field, limiting their employment opportunities and the ability to contribute to their community. I'm thinking in particular about the thriving arts community in northern Tasmania, with events like Junction, 10 Days on the Island and the Festival of Voices. Professional companies like TasDance, Stomp and Dance and Design Tasmania, and exhibition centres like QV Mag, the Academy Gallery and our many National Trust sites, not to mention the myriad of niche artists and boutiques that are absolutely unique to our region. Without adequate support in their educational endeavours, the very people whose passions and talents are the driving forces behind our artistic achievements will lose the opportunity to share their skills and knowledge with like-minded individuals and the wider community, meaning the creative industries and the arts will inevitably struggle.